Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the news we are waking up to for Friday, January 24th, 2025, day 1066 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And last night was a bad night. It was a loud night. It was a bad night. We saw only 58 drones. I feel like I jinxed myself in yesterday's analysis. I said the words. It's the drones aren't the problem, right? The Ukrainian air defense handles the drones. It's the missiles that are the problem. And then last night we see only 58 drones come in, 52 of them handled, 90% interception rate. But the ones that got through, boy, they did a job. They really did a job. This is Kyiv last night. I mean, that's a standard Soviet prefab apartment complex there. They're built in these concrete units that you can see them. They're like block construction, like big Legos. It's exactly the apartment I live in. And 3 people were killed last night in this attack here in Kyiv. And a double dozen more wounded and in the hospital right now. Emergency services responded. The fires are out this morning, but the damage will last forever for these folks. They are going to be traumatized forever. Not to be outdone. I mean, Ukraine is not wasting any time, boy. There was a massive drone attack on Russia last night. And the fact is, we don't know everything that was hit. According to the Russian MOD, 121 drones were intercepted over 13 provinces with no damage on the ground or injuries. That is delusional. That is, as Russians all over the country are posting to Telegram pictures of fires like this. Now, what we're looking at here is what is it? It's the Kremini, which I guess is the Russian word for silicon. The Kremini microelectronics plant in Bryansk. So this is the city or town of Bryansk, and according to the Ukrainian SBU, this microelectronics plant was destroyed. Not hit, not on fire, it's destroyed. Now, this is so important because this particular microelectronics plant makes the chips and circuit boards, the brains for the Topol M missile complexes, the Bulyov missiles, the S-300, S-400 anti-air defense systems, the onboard electronics for combat aircraft, including the Su-35, the Pantsir S-1, S-2, and the Yars ICBM for my friends in North America. So the plant that manufactures the chipsets for all of Russian aviation and air defense is destroyed. Now, that's not to say that there isn't redundancy in the supply chain, that there aren't other people manufacturing these critical components. But that's the point. These are critical components, right? Like, why go after the plant where they assemble the components to make the missile? No. Take out the plant that makes the critical electronics for all missiles. That's the intelligent, strategic thinking behind Ukraine's use of its limited arms, right? Don't hit the plant where they just assemble them. You can assemble them in any warehouse you want. No. Go after the manufacturing of the critical components that can't be easily replaced. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this was video. It just plays here. You can see the fires burning. There's not much there. As opposed to this video, which is spectacular. This is the Ryazan oil refinery in Voronezh, and the tanks have just been hit, and the people that stopped to listen to the drones are getting the hell out of there. Look at them go. Nobody's hanging around now. With good reason, right? So this is the Ryazan oil refinery in Voronezh. This has been hit before. This is one of Russia's 10 biggest oil refineries. And they process 17 million tons of crude oil a year. At this time, we have reports that 3 tanks are on fire and that the fire has spread to the workshop that contains the hydrotreatment facility, which is a required essential step in the process of creating diesel and aviation fuel. So you want to stop the tanks on the battlefield? Cut off the diesel. You want to stop the glide bomb attacks? Cut off the aviation fuel. Now, this plan has been hit before, right? And capacity was reduced to 50%. Then they got it up to 80%. Now, there's no telling what it's going to be, right? They may not be able to produce diesel and jet fuel at all until they replace the hydrotreatment unit. And if they're unable to do that because of sanctions, then they won't be producing those critical fuels that they need to prosecute this war. So this is now, look, this is early hours reporting here, right? There were 121 drones sent at Russia. We've got all kinds of rumors on Telegram that the Dyatlov air base was hit, that the Saratov oil refinery was hit again, targets in Moscow and St. Petersburg. But those are unconfirmed. These are the 2 confirmed hits so far. As others get confirmed, I'll make videos about them and put them on TikTok. Now, turning to international news, and particularly economic news. India's largest state-owned oil company, Indian Oil, is stopping buying Russian oil, and they are turning to other producers. They are citing the secondary sanctions from the U.S. as the reason for this. Now, China and India reducing their oil purchases hits Moscow hard. You're talking about potentially 2 million barrels a day of crude oil that no longer have customers. China and India basically filled in as the replacement customers for everything that was being sold to the EU because they could get it at a discount. India has said that they will continue to buy Russian oil if it's at the price cap of $60 a barrel. So we'll see. They may still end up buying it, but if they do, Russia won't make any money on it. That's what's important. Now, according to India's oil secretary, apparently they have an oil secretary in India. I did not know this. A guy named Jain. Mr. Jain said that the country has until February 27th to offload any oil tankers from previous orders. And all financials have to be wrapped up by March 11th. So they can get it in now, get it paid for now, and it'll be okay. But then after that, it's all done. And that's a big deal. That's going to hit Russia in the pocket hard. Now, back in October, for folks that follow this channel, you may remember we talked about the AC Tech report. AC Tech is they're a state-owned analytics division of the Department of Energy. So this is not some outsider looking at the Russian coal business, but this is a state analytics department inside Russia saying that the coal industry in Russia was headed for bankruptcy, that fully half of the 174 operating coal mines in Russia are likely to shutter in 2025 because of bankruptcy. We've seen a steady decline under sanctions of the purchase of Russian coal, even from good buyers like China. China last year alone reduced its coal purchases from Russia by 7%, despite the fact that the demand for coal inside of China was up by 14%. So where is China turning for its coal? It's turning to Mongolia and Australia. Australia is imports are up 60%. Now, when we think about this, right, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of employees, many of them living in coal towns, towns that are single industry towns. When that coal mine shutters, it's going to be like West Virginia, right? It's a problem. In 2023, the coal industry in Russia posted a profit of 357 billion rubles, right? That's about $360 million, about. So it's not a big industry, like, right? But to the hundreds of thousands of people that work in it, it's important. In 2024, the industry has posted a loss of 34 billion rubles, or about $34 million. So they lost money last year as an industry. China is reducing its coal purchases. China is basically stopping buying all Russian coal effective immediately. The Chinese are citing as the reason for this fear of secondary sanctions from the U.S. and the fact that Russian coal is just more expensive. Now, they don't mention the fact that it's more expensive because the Chinese actually put tariffs on it a while ago as a protectionist move for their own coal industry, right? So that's the effect of tariffs, guys. It's no good for anybody. But this is yet another blow to a failing Russian industry, not a company, not a business, an industry, like the arms export manufacture business, which in Russia has now sunk to near, I think they're now 7th in the world, down from number 2 for arms exports. And that's just dropping. Now, the U.S. has warned that Russia may have exceeded the terms of the 2010 New START nuclear treaty. This treaty essentially kept both sides from deploying any more than 1,550 nuclear warheads. Pentagon spokespeople suggested that Russia did exceed the limits at some point in 2024 and may still be exceeding those limits, but not by very much. The problem is, when you're talking about 1,550 nuclear devices, another 7 is another 7 cities that you can kiss goodbye. So by how many they were exceeded, we don't know. We don't know what this really means, if they were just shuffling what was deployed with what was in storage. That's unclear. But it is disconcerting, given the fact that Russia made the claim of having moved nuclear devices to Belarus, that they should be deploying more nuclear devices than we have deployed. Because what that immediately makes me think is they're going to deploy more nukes than we have and then light them all off, hoping that they can overwhelm ours and not get the return. This, of course, is nonsense, right? This is nonsense. Most of our nukes are at sea. They're in submarines, and you're not going to find them. So, I don't know. Childhood fears of nuclear war raise their ugly heads. Now, Gazprom. Gazprom is in trouble. Gazprom is broke. Gazprom recorded a record loss last year of 6.1 billion US. Their stock hit its all-time low just recently, 106 rubles, about $1.06 a share. And they are losing money selling gas inside Russia. That's really the bottom line. They are losing money selling gas inside Russia. Listen to this. The tariffs for independent resellers of Gazprom gas have been 6,250 rubles per 100 kilometers for every 1,000 cubic meters. The cost for Gazprom to pipe that gas to those sellers is 109 rubles. They're losing money every cubic meter. They want to raise the tariff to 170 rubles. Triple it overnight. It's the retail customers that are going to feel that. Retail prices are up 11.2% in 2024, up 10.2% in 2025. It's a cumulative effect of 37% since the full-scale invasion. Businesses and public utilities are going to have it even harder. In 2025 alone, they are planning to raise the price 21.3% in some effort to staunch the bleeding. And of course, we know they recently let go half the staff. Gazprom, in my opinion, is unlikely to ever recover from the damage that Vladimir Putin has done to its business. Now, there's a conversation worth having here because I don't think most of us know how this works. Certainly, I didn't know how it worked until it became an issue in this war. When we talk about international shipping, ships fly under a flag. Like you may remember the two ships that cut the Estonia Link 2 cables. One was flagged Hong Kong, and then I forget where the other one was flagged, but it was someplace innocuous, like Kitts and Nevis, someplace Panama, Barbados, something like that. And people think that means, oh, well, the ship must be owned by a concern in that country. That is not how flags on ships work. They are called flags of convenience. Different countries, landlocked countries, for example, have no ports of call, have no shipping industries. Other countries like Great Britain, who forged the international shipping market, right, through their colonial expansionism in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, they've got a long history and seafaring tradition and control very much of what's out on the open ocean. Other countries, island nations particularly, like Kitts and Nevis, the Azores, places like that, they will let you pay a fee to register your ship in their country, and then you can fly their flag. And they're called a flag of convenience. And for lots of these countries, it's a way of making money. They tend to have a port infrastructure that is valuable to ships at sea. So these become places to dock should you get in trouble out there. That sort of thing, right? But it's purely a matter of paperwork. It has nothing to do with the ownership or who controls the vessel. Nothing at all. So the fact that the Baltic 2 connector was cut by a Chinese flagged vessel doesn't mean that the Chinese were involved. It means it was flying under a Chinese flag, and that's all one can deduce. Now, Panama and Barbados, who are two very popular countries for flags of convenience. One can see why, right? Island nation and, of course, the canal. Panama has rescinded the flags of 68 ships in the Shadow Fleet. Barbados has rescinded 46 flags. That's 114 tankers that are out of action until they pay somebody else to fly their flag. And apparently some of these ships have already done the paperwork and been reflagged. But it's good to see Panama and Barbados taking action. If more countries that are known to be flags of convenience were to do this, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of expense and busy work, so that the ships aren't out there doing what they do, avoiding sanctions and funding Putin's genocide in Ukraine. So kudos to Barbados and Panama. Finally, Reporters Without Borders has asked the International Criminal Court to investigate and issue an arrest warrant for Lukashenko for crimes against humanity. In the last 5 years, since August 2020, when Lukashenko cracked down on media and civil disobedience inside of Belarus, driving all of his political opponents either into exile or into jail. He also cracked down on journalists. And Reporters Without Borders is reporting that over the last 5 days, the last 5 years, Lukashenko has arrested 397 journalists, and 43 of them are still in jail. And this comes just 2 days before the next rigged election in Belarus that will usher this dictator, who has been in power for 31 years, into another term, is what it looks like is going to happen. All right. That's it for me. That's the news that we are waking up to for Friday, January 24th, 2025. I'm Peter Alexievich. See you in the live at 5. Take care.